Welcome to the Block Party. My name is Seth Kushner, and I teased this on Twitter as a massive, massive interview, and I believe so, and I hope my guests believe so too. Ben Bishop, Bish, welcome to the Block Party, man.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
I just feel like you're such a fan favorite, and we'll get into everything. But I felt like people would be very excited to hear from you. My first question to you is, what percentage of the royalties did the Lightning cut you in on the Bish Please shirts?
None. I wish they would have, though.
What'd you think when they first came to you with that idea?
It was really cool, and I mean, it wasn't just me. They had, like the Cooch and Tyler Johnson had one, and they're coming up with for everybody. So it was really cool. But the Bish Please, that one stuck pretty good. I think the fans enjoyed it, and it was a lot of fun. It was fun.
Do you have any of those lying around anywhere?
I don't. My family do, but it's fun to see people wearing your shirt. It's pretty neat.
I know I had one, but it was a large, and I kind of want to do an extra large the last couple of years. So maybe I'll just hang it up on the wall or something. Listen, Ben, I want to know. We'll get into the retirement and everything, but I heard when you retire, just because I've talked to some retired players lately, like Braden Coburn, and then I talked to Rick Peckham, who retired. I hear you get gifts when you retire. Is that true? Have the gifts been rolling in yet, or is that yet to be determined?
I have yet to see a gift, so I don't know what they were doing.
Okay, maybe
who their friends are.
I think it was just Rick Peckham. Maybe I think he got a trip to like I don't know, Pebble Creek or Pebble. I don't know, one of those famous golf places.
Yeah, he deserved it for sure. He was doing that for a long time, and
absolutely. Now, listen, Ben, tell me when you first got traded to the Lightning, what were your initial thoughts?
I was ecstatic. I mean, I was sitting in a hotel room in Boston with the Ottawa Senators. We were on the road, and that morning we had day off. We had like team yoga in the lobby. So we did the yoga, and everybody went back to the rooms trying to lay down, take a nap. And it was the day of the deadline. So my phone was kind of going off the hook as far as it might be Edmonton, it might be Columbus, Calgary, all these different things. And it looked like maybe Edmonton was serious. And then I got the phone call from Brian Murray and said he traded me to Tampa. And I was doing fist pumps in my bed because it's like I'm going down to Tampa, Florida, and getting to play with some of the best players in the world. The Caviers, St. Louis, Stamkos, and I knew Teddy Purcell at the time. So I was just ecstatic because they were just coming off a year where they were in the conference finals too. So it wasn't like they were in a total rebuild stage.
Do you know how you're looked at by Tampa Bay fans? Obviously, Vazzy, we got, Javi Bulin and stuff like that. But there seems to be this appreciation from when you announce your retirement from people that it's not like the Lightning can retire your jersey or put out like a statue or something, but like you deserve something. Like you were such an important piece, I think, of tying in this era. This. Do you feel it at all? Like, do you feel like, I'm sure people have told you, do you feel like, hey, you know what, it was cool when I was there at the beginning of where they're at now?
Absolutely. I think, it goes both ways. I love, Tampa and the people of Tampa just as much. And I mean, it was a cool ride, because we kind of did it together. The organization was kind of coming into, the prime there as far as just the arena, all the renovations that Vinnick did and the fan base, and it just kind of all built, together kind of right as I got there. Then we started playing, some really good hockey and had all those runs for, the years I was there. So it's kind of like just all came together at the same time, me coming in, the fans, the ownership and everything they did to the arena and around the arena. So, I mean, even now they're doing 10 times more down there. So, but it just kind of all came together and it was neat. We kind of did it together, myself and the fans and the teammates. We were all kind of felt one.
When you reflect on your time in Tampa, what are your standout memories on the ice, or if there anything off the ice too?
Yeah, I mean, off the ice is pretty easy. It's just all the people I was able to meet. I always say it's one of the best communities, cities I've ever been a part of, because it is a city and it is big, but it also has that community feel. Everybody's so nice and genuine, and people stop to say hi, but obviously respect you. And it's one of those things, you can go to the mall, not get bothered, and it's just a great place to play. But the memories, there's just all the teammates I had a chance to play with first and foremost, like getting to play with Vinny and Marty and those guys, and going to the, Stanley Cup finals, and just the winning, I felt like when we were there, we were always, a top team, as we won a lot. And obviously when you're winning, it makes things a lot better. So just all those winning memories and most of the teammates.
What were your thoughts when the team drafted Vazzy? I mean, as you're, in the league, I'm sure you're not paying too much attention, but I don't know. All I heard was like, hey, this guy's the future. This guy's the future. You were obviously doing your thing. Did you go, hey, this guy is going to be the guy one day? Or, I mean, did you have to actually meet him first and then go, this guy's going to be amazing?
Yeah, I didn't even know. I think he might have been drafted the year before I got there.
Okay.
And I had no idea who he was. And, every now and then somebody would bring his, name up about, this kid. But at the time, I was playing the best hockey, in my life. So I really wasn't worried about anybody else. I was just, trying to work on my game and get better. And, it wasn't until that first year where I actually saw him play in Tampa at training camp. And you're like, whoa, this guy's really good. And I still tell people, like, one of the cool things about Vazzy too is when he came up, he was still like raw, and he had to work on his game to get to where he is today. It wasn't like he just showed up and was that good. He worked at it, but he definitely, the first time you saw him play, you saw the tools, you saw how his speed and flexibility and size, something you just have never seen before. And I don't think we'll see that for a long time, and that's why he's obviously the best in the world right now.
Did you catch wind of his little tribute to you on Instagram? I feel like Vazzy's like a very private guy, but he had a very public, post you on Instagram a couple of weeks ago. Did it get around to you?
Yeah, and I got a chance to talk to him. I still talk to Vazzy, give him calls, throughout the year, and he's a great kid, really, really good kid, and that's what's really neat about it too. He's the best goalie in the world by far right now, but he's also, such a great guy. Yeah, he's very funny. He's very sneaky funny. You really wouldn't think about it, really wouldn't see it. And then the more you're around him, the more comfortable he gets. He's really funny.
Listen, I had a chance to interview him this year and I was terrified. I spent 15 minutes with him and I was fearful of my life. I asked him, I said, hey man, what guys in practice get goals by you? And he looked at me like I was crazy. He's like, nobody scores on me. So I wanted to ask you, back in the day when you were playing with all these great players on the Lightning, who used to sneak and by you the most in practice?
I'm trying to think. The most in practice usually was like BJ Crombie, because he'd come in and shoot it 100 miles an hour, and I wouldn't want to get in the way of it. So I usually let it just go in.
Ben, this is something that I saw after you announced that your retirement. How many people do you remember stopping for when you would, like, after a game, when you'd be leaving the players parking lot? I've seen 700 pictures of you with like fans where you're like rolling down your window and stuff like that. I mean, because you were a huge fan favorite back then. Was it almost every night people were trying to get to you when you were leaving?
Yeah, well, they still do. When you're leaving the parking lot there in Tampa, I don't know if they've changed it at all recently. But yeah, it's you stop and you sign, and that's an easy thing to do as a professional athlete. You'd stop and you can take a picture and sign an autograph. It's the easiest thing in the world, and it makes a lot of people's days. So always had time. Love hearing some stories too and talking to them, and yeah, I lived across the street there. I was in the towers, so sometimes I'd walk and I'd have a long talk with some people.
They'd walk the whole way with you, right?
Most of the way, yeah.
That's hilarious. All right, so Ben, something everybody knows about the injuries, and that's why you retired. But can you talk about the mental tolls that the injuries took on you, and if that played just as big a part as the physical, or was the mental no problem for you to deal with?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't hard to deal with because there was still something to be, you're working towards. So obviously the injury happens. You have to, fix the injury, whether that's through, time and rehab or surgery. And then you have the rehab process. And then during that rehab process, your mind is thinking, how do I get healthy every day? How do I get stronger? And how do I get back to playing? So there is as much as you want to be out there playing, and when you're in the season, you have an objective of, win the game and, get better every day. And when you're kind of coming back from that injury, you have that end goal as far as to get back playing. But to get to that end goal, you have to do all the work every day. So it's pretty easy to have your mind occupied on just trying to get back. You don't sit there and feel sorry for yourself, because obviously that's going to get you nowhere. And usually too, I mean, the people that you're working with, you have a lot of fun together as far as the rehab process. Everybody I was able to work with, they make it enjoyable. You can get pretty old, especially when you're on crutches for 6 weeks. So they make it fun, and you find the best of it, because as bad as it might stink, there's a lot worse things you could be doing.
Was there a point before now that you thought that you wouldn't be able to play anymore? Or you always were just like, I got this, it's gonna happen?
Well, there's definitely different stages in the rehab where, you come out of there and you're like, there's no way, like, this is like so painful, and how am I going to get there? And then, slowly it gets better and better. And then all of a sudden you see the light at the end of the tunnel, and you're like, all right, here we go. Like, it's feeling a lot better now. I can't wait to get back. And then, there might be a setback, and I had different, problems with the bone bruising. So, it started to feel better, but then when I go play, then the bone bruising, and that'd be very painful. So it was kind of like, is this ever going to get better? And then this year, we kind of took our time and basically had to recondition the bone to get used to the bone on bone, tension. Obviously, when it's brand new, it kind of bruised, but then kind of almost create a callus over that bone. So you kind of get used to that pain, and kind of gets used to that load. So going into training camp, it was like, okay, actually this is getting better and better. And coming to this year, I was really, looking forward to having that chance. But then, I got to the point where I could get through practice and could kind of get my way through it. But anytime I get in that, unpredictable game-like situation where I had to really load it and really torque it, that's when it would just, kind of zings you. And at this level, you can't be dealing with, little zings every time you're trying to move. Otherwise, you're not going to be able to do your job at the level that you need to be able to do it. So kind of that last game was the final test, and kind of found out, realized that it wasn't going to get any better than it was.
Man, now is that what was the last game that you had? Was that the assignment that you had went on?
Yeah, I went down for the one game in the minors, and I mean, we kind of going into it, I was very hopeful, but same time I had, I knew where my knee was, and I was, hoping that it would be better than it was, kind of having fingers crossed and thinking maybe this is going to, my knee's going to be fine. But at the same time, I also knew the condition that the knee was in. So I, was hoping that it would work out better, but at the end, kind of could see it maybe coming that way as well.
Is this something that was affecting like your everyday life just as a normal person, or just when you would go out there and try to play hockey?
Well, before I had the surgery, when I was in the bubble there, yeah, I could really walk up and down the stairs, without too much pain. So then the surgery and everything fixed it. And I'm pretty lucky that it's the outside of the lateral side of your knee. So you don't really use that as much. But yeah, I mean, I still feel it if I'm trying to do a squat and, get up and down, but you learn to deal with it, and it's going to be all right for now.
All right, yeah, just skip leg day. I'm sure you're fine.
That's kind of what I've been doing.
Now listen,
straight upper.
There you go. Just get those the biceps and the triceps and the pecs. So tell me about 2019 when you mentioned the bubble. What it was like. In the end, seeing some of your really good friends, end up with the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, it was tough. Obviously, the whole bubble situation was kind of different for me as well, because of the injury that I was dealing with, and trying to play through. But looking back, I was only making it worse and worse and worse. And that's kind of where I went through all my cartilage in my knee, was when I was in the bubble, and kind of getting stuck up there and not being able to go see the second opinions just because of the way the COVID world was working. But at the same time, we were winning. And, that obviously was a very enjoyable process, and getting a chance to, play the Lightning. Obviously, we all knew how good of a team they were. But when you get there, you have a chance. And obviously, we were upset that, we couldn't come on top. But at the same time, I wouldn't say it makes it harder or worse. You don't like seeing anybody win the Stanley Cup if it's not yourself. So, I was definitely happy for, the guys, because I knew what they put in to it from the very beginning, being part of that process there for the first, 4 or 5 years. So I know all the hard work that they put into it, and, the ownership and the management side, and all the work they've done. So I was very happy for them. It's a tough pill to swallow, but at the end of the day, these are, your friends, used to be colleagues. So you feel you feel happy for him.
How hard was it for you? And you've missed some time over the years. How hard was it for you this time to not be able to be out there? Was it the most difficult time of your career to not be able to play?
It was. It was just a bummer. I guess that's kind of a good word to put it. But at the same time, with where your knee is, that you're not going to make the team any better. You're only going to make it worse. So you're not doing yourself any favors by trying to go out there and hobble through, and that's not going to help. But I was thankful that I was able to get to play a couple playoff games, get a playoff win that year, but it was kind of the same thing. It was just the knee was not in a good spot.
Have you settled into retirement right now? Like, are you I feel like when I talk to some of the guys that are they don't know what to do. Like I had Coburn on the block party a couple weeks ago. He was hanging around talking to me for 20 minutes. I'm like, he clearly has nothing going on. So what are you settling into right now? You got any new hobbies or anything?
Well, I'm doing the panel again tonight. I did because our color guy on the broadcast Razor has COVID right now. So the guy from the panel is now doing the color. And I was talking to our, PR guy, and I was like, I'll do it, So then they kind of went through it. They called like Valley Sports, and Valley Sports was like, yeah, do it. So I did the panel last game, not yesterday, but the last home game against the Kraken. And then Razor's still out, so I'm going in tonight. I got to do the game again. So I got a job already. I've been working on. So
there we go. All right, there. Let's make
but
sure.
It's just while Razor has COVID, he'll be back next game, and then.
How is it, man? How do you like it? I mean, were you nervous when you first tried it?
I was a little nervous. I was more nervous kind of like leading up to it, kind of throughout the day, not really knowing what to expect. But then when the cameras turned on and the lights were on, I actually, I wasn't as nervous as I thought I was going to be, because it kind of used to the camera in your face and talking into a microphone. So, and they're doing it tonight too. And I have a little, not as nervous, just trying to get my notes ready. It also helps that Dallas is playing the Lightning, so I know both teams extremely well. So there's not too many notes. There are too many guys I got to look up on the other team.
So are you a Stars guy? Like, are you a Stars fan? Because I was going to ask you, like, you've played on a few teams in your career. Like, who do you feel like you belong to? Do you feel like you're a Star? Do you feel like you're a Lightning? Or do you feel like you're split both ways?
No, I think obviously you have a little bit for each organization. I think Tampa is, definitely where the prime was, and then I know Dallas I've been here for 5 years, so you start to feel part of community here. So I mean, I definitely think they all, LA not so much, but not because anything bad happened, but it's just because it was such a quick stint, so you really didn't have much time. You're living out of a hotel the whole time, it doesn't really feel too much like home. But I enjoyed all the places, and being drafted by St. Louis too, and having a chance to play for that organization. So definitely the three of them, but I think, Tampa, obviously that's where, the prime years were.
How tough of a spot was it for you in 2017? Because there was all the expansion draft. It was, I think everybody knew. What did you go into that year? What was your mindset?
It was tough because, I knew that the way that the organization wanted to go just made common sense, with Vassy coming up. And then the trade that didn't happen that summer that was supposed to happen, to Calgary, kind of fell through the last second. And then coming back into the season, we just had a great season. So, I just had come off a Vezina year. So I kind of expected to, keep going the same way we had gone. But at the same time, they wanted to get Vassy in more and, start developing him, which obviously, makes sense. So it kind of made for a little bit, I wanted to keep going how we'd gone in the years past, but they were also trying to go through a transition and try to get in Vassy more games. And, for some reason, we just didn't we just couldn't really get it going that year. And then, the trade to LA. So it was definitely kind of a weird year, but what are you going to do?
Were you expecting to just get that call at some point that year that you were getting traded and you just didn't know where?
Yeah, it was getting closer to the deadline. I think I got traded a week before the deadline, and at that time I knew if something was going to happen. I would not have guessed LA with the things that were going on around the league, but it was. I saw that it was Steve calling when it was, and I had a pretty good idea that I was going somewhere. So, but that's just the way the business, and it wasn't the first time it had happened to me. So, I guess that was the only positive thing. But it really. The hardest part was the getting called I think, 5 o'clock p.m. and being on a 9 p.m. flight that night. And it's just, all the people you wanted to say thank you to and goodbye to in Tampa, in the community, and around the rink, the staff, everybody, and you don't have that opportunity. I think that's probably the hardest part about those trades is you don't get to, tell people thank you and say your goodbyes because you get a phone call and you're out the door in 2 hours. So that's definitely the hardest part. One of the biggest regrets was not being able to say, thank you at the time. But over the years I've gotten back and been able to, say thanks to all those people.
Man, it seems like it sucked being traded. I mean, like I would freak out if they're like, hey, you got to be on this in this other city in 2 hours, and this is where you're going to be living for the next few months, like that. I mean, I know it's part of what you guys do, but still, to get like I'm not getting traded. Like other people don't know what it's like to get traded. Like, really, just athletes, I'm assuming. So, I mean, that's a freaky thing to go through.
It really is. I don't think people realize that's got to be the hardest thing about this and I'm lucky back then I didn't have kids, just had the fiance at the time, so it's easy. But if you have kids in school and they want you, and usually they want you there as soon as possible, and luckily I remember thinking, I was like, I have laundry done, or is all my laundry dirty? I don't have time to even wash it before I got to be there. So it's tough getting traded. That's not a fun thing to have to deal with, especially if you have a family too. That makes it even harder.
Yeah, that's what I try to explain to some people, that they just don't know. It's like when a guy comes to a new team after he's traded, he doesn't score for a couple games and everybody's like, this guy sucks. We gave up too much. And you go, hey, there's a whole nother side. This guy's living down at, the Hilton. Like, just give him a little chance to settle in here and everything's going to be okay.
Exactly.
Now, Ben, people have said you're one of the nicest guys in the NHL. I got a chance to talk to you in the locker room after a practice, which you're the only person smiling after practice. Like in the locker room, I'm so glad COVID has gotten people out of the locker room. I feel like it's so rude to approach people right after they've been working their asses off on the ice, but you were smiling. You were the one guy smiling that I talked to. But I want to know, to you, who are some of the nicest guys in the NHL to you?
Some of the nicest guys? Wow, I mean, that's kind of broad.
It is like who anybody just resonates like, you know what? This seems like just a real genuine dude.
Yeah, I mean, I think most of the guys are. I think obviously in this business, you can catch guys on, some guys are having good days, some guys are having bad, some guys that haven't scored in a week are not in the best mood. So it kind of just depends, obviously getting to know the guys on a, more of a personal level. I would say, 99% of them are, just great people. But I've had so many teammates over the years. It's hard to pick one or two.
What was Corey Perry like? Because now people are talking like the Lightning played Corey Perry 2 years in the finals, and now Corey Perry's here, and everybody's saying, Bogosian, Belmar, how they used to hate him, but when he's on your team, you love him. What was your experience with Corey Perry like?
Exactly. I was the same way with him too, playing against him. He's one of those guys that's always in the goalie's grill and, trying to stick you and, fall on you and all that stuff. So, but at the same time, he's a great, funny guy, off the ice, and I think people don't realize when the game's going on, there's a switch that flips in a lot of people's head. I mean, you could see it sometimes. You'll have best buddies, fighting, bare knuckles, and then after the game, they're going to get dinner together. So there is this switch, in between the, the game where there are no friends, and then but after, which is kind of a unique thing about hockey. I think it's pretty cool is that you could fight somebody in the game, but then be having beers with them after and be laughing. So he's a great guy. He's one of those guys that can flip the switch too. When he gets out there, he's not afraid to stir the pot and get in anybody's kitchen. But after, he's be the guy to come up and hand you a beer and hash it out. So he's a great guy, and it's fun to see him doing well.
See, this is great stuff for the panel tonight here. We're already like working some stuff out that you can use on TV. Like this is perfect. So Ben, I want to know, being 6'7", do people around Dallas mistake you for like somebody on the Mavericks at all, or do they know exactly who you are when they see you?
No, I get mistaken for basketball all the time, and that's everywhere. Everybody always like, what you ball, like who do you play for? It's like, oh, I play hockey, and then they're always like, what?
When did you first start playing goalie?
Started when I was 4. I think it was like around 7. So the first few years I was, skating as a forward, just, learning how to run around and skate. And then we all took turns, I think around kindergarten, that age. And I guess I was pretty good at it and liked it, so I stuck with it, and here I am. But it was fun. We all took turns. We all had fun, and I don't know. I just enjoyed it. I always liked the pressure. Even in tennis, I hated doubles. I always wanted to play singles. I just wanted, have all the pressure on yourself type thing.
So listen, so I know that you're doing the panel and everything and you're figuring everything out, but I read that you do want to stay in hockey. Like, do you have, and like I was doing this podcast with Dan Girardi, and like I could just tell he wanted to be a coach. He was so into his son and what he was doing. And he was like, and I think now he's with Buffalo doing some stuff. Like, do you have a desire to be a coach? Do you want to be in the media? Are you good with anything?
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna, want to stay in the game. And I do like the coaching side. I like working with the goalies. I think I can, help them. I also like the management side of it, putting together a roster and kind of assembling a team that you think, can do well. I really enjoy that side of it. And I also like the media. So I'm, lucky that obviously, having kind of on long-term IR now slash, somewhat retired. So I have the time to, kind of hopefully go try some different things out. I'm lucky, I mean, who would have thought, the next week or first week back that Razor gets COVID, and now I'm doing the panel. So, just to have that opportunity and how special it is, it was a lot of fun the other night. I'm looking forward to it again tonight. And, hopefully when this COVID slows down, I can kind of be around the team a lot more and hopefully kind of maybe learn some different things around the organization as well.
Did you know how emotional you would get during your press conference when you were retiring? Like when you were working on things, did you know, or was it just like, oh my God, I can't believe it's all, I mean, I cry, so it's all good. And other people were crying too. So I just wanted were you prepared for that?
Yeah, I knew it was probably I mean, just because of the days leading up to it, you know, it happened, as far as the team announced it, and it was, just kind of felt normal, nothing, like didn't really process it. And it wasn't until you start getting the text messages from players and coaches and people you've met along the way. And then, you get a text message from, somebody you're not expecting or tells you a funny story about back in the day. And then all of a sudden the emotions were coming through. Like I just, started crying, and then it'll be fine. And kind of just a wave of emotion those 2 days. And then obviously I knew when I was going to give that, the talk there, meet with the media, that I knew I'd probably get emotional at some point. So I was somewhat prepared. I didn't know when or where, but
Ben, did you know how hard that was for other people too? I mean, like the one time I got fired from a radio station, and like a girl that I worked with, she wasn't fired, but she was crying. Like she was more upset than I was, and I was actually mad she was more upset than I was. Like, did you know how upset other people were when you had to hang them up?
I mean, no, because I was pretty upset myself too. So,
So
I
screw
don't
you
think I could
guys.
have had that feeling as far as, but yeah, no, it was a little funny. I mean, I think my sister texted me after. She's like, "Great job, you made us all cry." It's like, yeah, it's not what I was trying to do, but it went well. I'm very thankful to the Stars that they were able to, kind of let me, get up there and tell my side of the story. So I'm glad that they were able to do that for me. I was also kind of glad that it was over, as far as I could kind of put it to rest and kind of just deal with, talking with you, getting back to all the text messages and trying to respond to everybody.
Would any of the guys back when you played with the Lightning, would any of the guys chirp you, or were the goalies off limits? Because like I hear like people try to snipe Vazzy, and like he'll cut him down in a second. They try to make fun of like his Instagram pictures and stuff like that. So I mean, would guys chirp you at all? Like they just let you do your thing?
Oh no, they would chirp me for sure. Yeah, no, we would always go back and forth. It's a great locker room. It's funny to see, or it's great to see a lot of the same guys that are still there. It's funny to see, Schuster's back. Yeah, it's just a great room, and obviously great leadership. I think Steven Stamkos is one of the best captains ever played for, and not put a knock at anybody else, but I think he's just that well spoken in everything that he does, and leading that team, and Hetty and all the pieces around them. So it's fun to see them all still there doing well, and hopefully tonight maybe Dallas can take it to them.
Are you surprised by anybody's growth that you played with back in the day and goes, oh my, I cannot believe that this guy has turned into this type of player?
Well, it's just, I wouldn't say surprise. It's been really neat to see how good they have gotten. Especially Hetty. I think right when I came in, he was kind of starting to take that step into like an elite defenseman. And then not only did he become an elite defenseman, now he's kind of become, the cream of the crop there. So it's fun to have seen how much he progressed, because he was kind of the same way. Even with Vasi, you could kind of see them getting better and how hard they wanted to be the best. And there's, no surprise of where they are. And then to see, Pointer, 18 years old that year come in, and you're like, oh, this guy's pretty good. And, even Cooch, when he got called up when he was a rookie, and he had like 10 breakaways the first 5 games, and you're like, who is this guy? And then, obviously to where he's at now. So it's fun just to see how these guys have all, and they all push each other too. It's no surprise that, they have, one of the best goalies, best defensemen, and some of the best forwards in the game right now.
There we go. Listen, Ben, give a message to all of your fans out there that are watching, that are listening, that were crying that day, that you were crying as well. I mean, to tell them you're okay, and just go ahead and give a message to the fans of the Lightning who have rooted for you for years.
Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it. It's fun being on, and we love Tampa. My wife's from St. Pete, so we'll be back. We love coming down there. I can't thank you guys enough for all the support over the years, and can't wait to see you guys again.
There you go. Can you see that St. Petersburg pennant that's right behind me there? There we go. I'm in St. Pete. I love St. Petersburg. So that'd be great. Listen, Ben, I really appreciate it. You were just so appreciated in Tampa. And I was very excited when Breesman got you on, because Ryan Callahan was not available. So I appreciate that very much.
City up, huh?
Callie's big time because he's doing ESPN right now. So we needed you. But listen, man, I've been trying to get you on for a couple of years, but because you've been on the Stars, Breesman said we should probably wait a little bit. So I'm excited to sit down with you. Thanks for the time, man, and good luck with everything.
I really appreciate it. Anytime. Happy New Year's, and anytime.